My name is Andrew, and I think finally you have a speaker with an English name, so here's that. But it's a bit intimidating that my first lecture with you is on love and sex, an important topic, but a difficult topic. But I hope it will be helpful. And some time ago, Wasim made a joke that he used to present this topic in Egypt, and he said this is good for you because Andrew is used to showing clips and videos in lectures. So imagine if he shows videos in that lecture, which I will do, but I promise they will not be explicit, just normal videos. Before talking about love and sex in themselves, I want to talk about two approaches that happen in the world. The so-called traditional church approach, which is we need to think about a bit, and the world approach. I recommend, if you are interested, to follow someone called Glenn Harrison. He has a great book called A Better Story, and he has many lectures on YouTube, so you can follow him. And he makes a great comment to my mind. It says, many times we face stories and images that are presented by the world. So they present stories how they got more free when they unleashed their sexuality. Or they show images of being happy and fulfilled. And many times the church faces that, stories and images, with facts and rules. Can you see the imbalance? You have stories that move us, images that capture our imagination. And we face that with facts that if you do sex outside marriage, this can and that can happen, and a bunch of rules from the Bible. And this approach has not been very successful, right? Because we are creatures that are more affected by stories and by images. And he uses a great analogy. If you are familiar with Homer, he has an epic called the Odyssey. And in it, Odysseus is going to pass through a sea in which there are sirens. And in Greek mythology, sirens have very beautiful voice. And if they sing, they can lure you to jump into water, and then they can eat you or destroy you. So Odysseus wanted to hear their song, but not be eaten. So he tied himself to the mast of the ship and told the sailors to put wax in their ears, lest they be lured. And he went through this place. And when he heard the song, he was so tempted that he kept screaming, untie me, I want to jump in the sea and go to the sirens. But because the sailors had the wax, he was safe. And a lot of times we deal with sex like that. We have a great urge. We are very attracted by the promises of sex and porn and things like that. But we try to hold back, tie ourselves to a mast. And I think we need a deeper force, a more powerful thing, not just to tie ourselves to a mast, but we need something else to help us. And I think here we need to think, is the Bible only a set of rules? Or is it more than that? Does it tell a story, and a beautiful one? And does this story paint a world in which we should live? And Glenn Harrison presents another myth, one of Orpheus. And Orpheus does something different. Instead of tying himself to the mast, he sings a very beautiful song that comes and wins the siren's song. See the difference between trying very hard to obey rules and being swayed by the beauty of the life and the story portrayed in the Bible. And this is what we will try to do today. We will try to think about these two stories, and does the Bible provide a beautiful story that can help us pursue love and sex as God portrays them? This is an illustration. If you see these people, you see them happy and they seem free, right? It's a powerful image. And the question is, do Christians embody a society of free and flourishing individuals? Before telling people what kind of rules do we try to follow? And more than that, before telling them the story that should be more beautiful than their own story, are we living it? Do they see in us people who are flourishing in the midst of struggle? People who have hope in the midst of pain and evil? Or are we trying to speak about things that do not show up in our lives? So I think there are two extremes, and we want to find our way between them. On the one hand, in the world, many times we find a confusing ambiguity. We're not sure anymore what to do. Common grounds and starting points are diminishing more and more, right? It's increasing that everyone can do whatever they feel like. And this seems like freedom, but it also entails ambiguity. We're not sure, what am I? What I can do? What will make me happy? And we keep trying things. But on the other hand, the church, we have to admit that, embodied a culture of shame. So if you do something or you're struggling with something, you feel shameful and you feel less than the others. And we'll talk a bit about that tomorrow. It's a culture of fear. Do not talk about sex. Do not think about it. So there's fear, there's ignorance, there's isolation. And maybe the most dangerous of all, there is simplistic dogma, arrogance, and self-righteousness. So we must admit that at many times as a church, we did not deal well with the world, sexuality and love. And Glenn Harrison suggests 3 words. Sorry, for every time we were really bigoted, or that we talked about something beautiful that we did not embody, or where we were shameful or fear-driven. And thank you for the world when they presented a good challenge for us, when they posed good questions that helped us rethink, did we get the Bible well? Did we express ourselves in a good manner? Did we understand reality and life well? Or was our view very simplistic? And thirdly, let's talk, let's have a conversation. I know that in my history, maybe as a church, we didn't foster a good conversation, but let us start anew. Can you hear me? Maybe if I have a different opinion, this doesn't mean that I am bigoted, or it doesn't mean that I don't love you. There is a difference between love and accepting everything you do. You are right that I should not force you to do things. I should not impose my views on you. But what's wrong in having a conversation? Is it phobic to tell my opinion respectfully, gently, and lovingly? I think we need to think about that. So these were the 2 approaches, and we want to find our way through. Either the extreme ambiguity and everything goes and do what you feel, or shame, fear, and self-righteousness. And we are trying to see, is there a way between? Can we present a beautiful, attractive story with captivating images that give us energy and attracts the others? So let's think about 2 stories and 2 sets of values. The first story comes from Greek mythology. So mythology goes that Zeus was afraid of humans because humans were united, okay? Male and female were in one body. They had 2 heads, 4 arms, and 1 body. And he feared that this union will make them strong and maybe they would rebel against him. So he decided to cut this union. And therefore, every man and every woman was searching for his other half. And actually, interestingly, the word sex comes from the Latin sexus. And part of the meaning of that is cut, separated. And actually, this is one set of story. We feel separated. We feel we are missing something. And to our minds, this thing is either a person or an experience. So I'm looking for someone who is right, Mr. Right Guy, or the princess who will make my life good. Or I'm seeking an experience. if I have this kind of sex, if I have this kind of pleasure, if I go through this, then my life will be good. And I want to say, there is truth that we are missing something. But do we miss an experience, or do we miss something more than that? This thing that we miss is expressed by different thinkers. So Bertrand Russell, you know him, he's an atheist British thinker. He says that in romantic love, there is a deeper thing than sexual desire. We are looking for a way to escape loneliness. Eric Fromm talks about separation and how love justifies human existence. So there is truth that we are seeking something. We are hungry. We miss a thing. But is it a thing? Or do we miss a relationship, an ultimate reality? And the Christian story tells a different thing. It doesn't start with humans being united, male as female, and then being separated and looking for an experience or a person. It says that the story starts with a union in God himself. The triune God, the Trinity, the triunity says that the deepest thing about reality is individuality that is totally united. The Father is not the Son, and the Son is not the Spirit. They are distinct, but they are fully united that you cannot separate them. And this love, this union in which every part of the triunity goes for the other and loves for the other, makes God love. And out of this love, God decided to create humans that would be part of this union, this unity. He created man and women in his image to be part of him. But as we know, and as Yusuf reminded us in the Christian story, in the fall we decided we will become our own gods. What we truly need is a thing. If I take the magical fruit, I will have ultimate power. I will know everything. I won't need God. See, this is the source of how we think today. What I miss in my life is a thing, the fruit. And this will give me an experience of ultimate knowledge. And then I will be able to decide how to live and who I am. And Christianity says, this did not happen. When we depended on a thing and we discarded the relational framework, we became separated. We miss being united to each other and to God. And that's why there is this urge and hunger in us. So let me put it this way. We miss God and the reality engendered from this union. The experience comes from the union with God and is embodied in the union with others. And in this predicament, when we miss God and the union with him, we decided to get to the closest thing as substitute, which is having feelings and experiences instead of the reality that comes from union with God. Do you get this idea? This is the main idea that I will be explaining in detail throughout the rest of the lecture. I will be explaining how in the separated world we made experience and feeling primary, and how that the Christian story tells us that the primary thing is not a thing, but it is union with God. It's a reality. And in this union, we become ourselves and we become united to each other. And this is what we miss. And in missing that, we substitute it for the readily available thing, feeling and experience. It's like taking a drug or eating fast food when you are hungry. You can eat things that will make you forget your hunger, but it's not nourishing. It's not making you grow properly. It's not a meal. It just does away with hunger. So in these two different views, either the story of the separated world says the goal is pleasure and I am the center. The goal is pleasure, and I am the center. The Christian story says that I give myself to the other, and this actualizes and fulfills the self. So in the Christian story, I go out of myself to the other, and in that I find myself and I find fulfillment. In the separated world story, I curb into myself. I take. I want to feel. I'm self-centered. So I might say, I love you. But actually what I'm focusing on is what I feel when I'm with you. We might talk about consent, but at the bottom of it is, what do I get from this without being too greedy? So I'm still thinking about myself, but in more polite terms. So let's see the Christian story, and I remind you of Orpheus. We want to think about the Christian story in a way that is beautiful, that outwins our hearts and the hearts of the others. The story starts with union with the other that shapes and fulfills the self. And I want to read with you from John 17. It says the following: I in them and you and me in me, that they may become perfectly one. See the union and love? So that the world may know that you sent me and loved them even as you loved me. Do you find rules here? No rules. Nothing harsh. But we find the ultimate reality that God has union in himself, and he decides to incorporate us in these unions, right? The Son says, you and I are one, and I want them to be one in us. And then Jesus uses the word, Father, I desire that they would be with me. Desire is a word that we use in love and sex, right? So God is not just a non-interested moral lawgiver who governs the world. God desires us and desires our fulfillment and desires that we would be with him. Jesus prayed that I want them to have this full experience, and I desire that they will be with me. And then they will see my glory. I will show them the deepest things about reality. And we will later see a verse that says, and I will give them this glory. So we're not here talking about a test. You do a bunch of rules. I gave you like a prize. We're talking about, I want you to live life to the fullest. And this comes from love, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. So the Christian worldview is based that God is love, is unity, is going outside of himself. And he wants us to experience this deep union. Out of that, we can read Genesis 1. Genesis 1 says, God created man in his own image, which is love between people who are unique and individuals. So he created them male and female and blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply. So to be created in God's image means to be an individual who can enter into deep relationships. And the climax of that, the most intense form of that, is the relationship between man and woman, who are different characters and different genders. So we have this union between people who are very different. And in Genesis 2 it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, that they may become one flesh. See the connection? Because I and the Father are one, I desire that humanity experiences that. And the most intense form of that is not to be united only in feelings and ideology and money, but also in the body. So here sex culminates and expresses this deep union in other domains and areas, because union is the center. And notice the word one flesh. What is the body about? Is the body something to be lusted after or coveted? Is the body something to be hated because it does not conform to the criteria of beauty? Or is the body something to be an enemy because it has desires that I cannot control? The Bible says the problem is not in the body. God created the body and it is a good creation. The body is my power bank. The body is the ability to talk to others, touch others, lift things, to live life as a human being. So the body is good. The problem is that in a fallen world, my body has registered bad tendencies. You know, it's like when you start learning to drive, you focus, am I putting my foot in the right place? What does that mean? And you're confused in the beginning. Then after training, you do it automatically, right? Same thing about PlayStation. When you play a game for the first time, you say this button, it does what? And then you are maybe playing soccer and you're in front of the goal, but you miss the goal because you're not sure which button. Then you do it without thinking. The problem is it goes both ways. The body registers automatic reactions. So it registers, they do this, I get angry, I do that. I feel stress, lust comes up, I watch porn, I get release. The problem is not in the body, it's in the habits, the tendencies that got saved in the body. And I have a special message, especially to females, about the body. Sometimes we hate our bodies because it can get us into troubles, or we hate our bodies because it does not conform to the criteria of beauty that is around us. And I want you to know that in Genesis 2, it says, and the rib that the Lord got taken from Adam, he built into a woman. Maybe in your English translation it is made, but the Hebrew word means built. And it is the word that is used in building the temple. It's building a monument, something that is very beautiful and done artistically. So the Bible says that especially the body of the woman is a work of art. And the problem in the fall that sometimes as human beings, we don't know how to deal with art. It's like the small child that instead of sniffing a flower, tears it apart and kills it. Or the flower itself that has self-doubts because it's not like the other flower, that it thinks it's more beautiful. God made our bodies well, and we should love our bodies because they are a gift from God. They are well made, and they help us be in the world. Romans 12, in it, the Apostle Paul says, I appeal to you by the mercies of God to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. Our bodies have great value. They are holy and they are acceptable to God when we deal rightly with them. So please don't hate your bodies. Don't be in enmity with them. Love them and teach your bodies to get better. So what we have been saying is sex is a way to express and enforce union. And it is a way also to express love and delight. And we find that in 1 Corinthians 6, it says, don't you know that your bodies are members of Christ? Because you are united to Christ, your members are his members. See, union is at the depths of the theology of the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament. So do I take the members of Christ and make them members of a prostitute? Never. Don't you know that who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For it is written, the two will become one flesh. In the Bible, the sexual act is not just a way to have pleasure. It is highly symbolic. It expresses and enforces union. And you know what? Biologically and chemically, when you have sex, a certain hormone is released. It's called the oxytocin. And it is called the binding hormone. When the oxytocin is released, it makes you on the bodily level connect with the other person. And maybe this is part of when we have sexual experiences, why we remember these people we had sex with or fantasized. Why they come to our mind and we remember them. So sex is made to embody the union that is happening on other spheres and to make it deeper. However, the world has another story. The world says it's just sex. And I want to show you, not from the Bible, but from American movies, that this is not true. So 3 movies has a similar idea. No Strings Attached, Love and Other Drugs, Friends with Benefits. In the 3 movies, the couple decide we will only have sex to either forget our pain or the weight of life, or just to have fun. But nothing more. In the 3 movies, this doesn't work out. At least one of them becomes emotionally attached. It doesn't work. And see, in Friends with Benefits, this view is expressed. Sex, it's a physical act, like playing tennis. It's just a game. You shake hands and get on with your things. He didn't say things, but we are in a Christian conference, so I can't. Okay? It's just sex. But see what's happening here. You are taking something out of its context. It's made for union, and you say what? It's just a game. It's just pleasure, and we should say goodbye, thank you. This was pleasurable. See you later. C.S. Lewis says this is like taking food out of its context. It's like chewing food, then spitting it. This can work. You might enjoy the taste of it in your mouth, but it will not become part of you and you'll not grow. And I want to show you a clip, nothing bad, I promise, from a movie called Vanilla Sky. And we will think about, is it just sex or does it mean more?
What's happiness to you, David?
What's happiness to me? What is happiness?
Because for me, this is happiness. It's being with you. Hey, when did you stop caring, David?
Caring about what?
About the consequences of the promises that you've made.
Promises?
Yeah, the promises.
I thought... What are you talking about?
Do you understand how hard it is to pretend to be your buddy? David, I love you. David, you've been inside me.
Julie.
That means something.
Slow down.
4 times. It means something, David. 4 times.
Stop the car.
It's 24 hours a day. I live with this aching possibility that you might call me to do something.
Yeah, let's go to your house and we'll talk this out. I want to see where you live. Let's just slow down. I want you to stop the car, Julie. I want you to stop the car!
Don't you know that when you sleep with someone, your body makes a promise whether you do or not? Tell me something, David. I mean, do you believe in God?
It means something. It's not just sex. It means something. Your body does the promise. even if you don't do it verbally. It means something. And the world tried to abstract sex outside of its context and remove meaning from it. And it just doesn't work. And in the last point, I have been using only American movies, not the Bible. It doesn't work. We get attached. We get close. We experience union. And then we are hurt that the promise doesn't continue. That the closeness is then broken. It has an effect. Tim Keller, the preacher, says this. Sex means to give yourself fully, exclusively, and permanently. When you give your body, when you hide nothing, this symbolizes giving yourself without reserve. No masks, no appearances, me as I am. I'm giving myself fully. And it's a bit weird to give your body fully, but not to give your emotions and money and concern and so on. And you give yourself exclusively and you give it permanently. Because if you don't, you do a promise and we experience closeness, then when it is broken, it has an effect on us. So sex is not a consensual means of pleasure. Sex in the Christian story, not just the commandments of the Bible, in the story, it's an expression and the realization of the union and the self-giving to the other. This is why in Genesis 2, when man sees woman, he starts doing poetry. This is like the first poem ever. He says, this is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. And that's why we will become one. I delight in her. I see her beauty. And I decide that I will leave my father and mother and get united to her. So sex is an expression of delighting in the other. And it portrays God. It reflects God. God is not an impassionate, uninterested deity. See Isaiah 62 and see the language of the passionate love of God. He says, for Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. I will not be quiet. It's almost the language of someone who can not restrain himself from expressing love. But what is love in this passage? Mere feelings? Empty words? No, love here is desiring the good of the other. So he says, I will not keep silent or be quiet till her righteousness goes forth as brightness. I think the Apostle Paul picks up on that in Corinthians and says that the man should love the woman as Christ loves the church, to bring her like a bride without a blemish or a blame. He wants his bride to be in her utmost beauty, to become the best version of herself. So God is passionate, but passionate for what? It's not just romantic love. He's very passionate to give you the best life ever, to bring forth your righteousness, to make you the best version of yourself, shiny, attractive, fulfilled. And then he goes on to say, you will no longer be forsaken, but you will be called, my delight is in her, and your land is married. For the Lord delights in you, and your land shall be married. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you. Do you see the passionate love? And this passionate love should be reflected in our human relationships. When we love each other well, especially in the context of marriage and sex, we express God's desire for union and to bring forth the best version of the other. I keep reminding myself of that. I tell myself, one of my greatest duties should be in helping my wife become the greatest version of herself. The primary question is not, am I happy enough or not? Are we always stable or not? But am I getting closer to her? Are we being more united? And am I helping her to become herself more? So the first point in the Christian story was that in union, you become yourself and become more fulfilled. There's a step deeper. The Christian story also says, in going out of yourself, you find yourself. That's why in John 17, we will find Jesus focusing on the Father. So he says, Father, I want to glorify you, but you will also glorify me. And then we give the people our glory. And I am glorified in them. And I will give them my glory. The God we worship is not self-centered, which is tricky, right? Sometimes we think that God tells us not to be self-centered, but he is self-centered. He wants all the praise. He wants all our love. He wants all our thoughts. But actually, this God is a triune God. The Father goes out and focuses on the Son, and the Son praises the Father and focuses on him, and the Spirit glorifies them both. So God goes out of himself to us. So we should deduce that we will be mostly fulfilled and free when we go out of ourselves. And I want to think with you about that. You know, even self-centered people cannot be self-centered in themselves. They need a medium. You know the word narcissism? Narcissism comes from Narcissus. This is a Greek story in which Narcissus, the father of narcissism, saw his reflection in water and started loving himself. But in order to love himself, he needed something outside of himself, which is water. So even to be self-centered, you need to go a bit out of yourself. I think there's no someone who goes like that. I look on myself, I am really good, I love myself. It's absurd. You do something outside yourself, then you say, I'm really good. You look into the mirror, you post a picture. You always need things outside of yourself. And let me enforce that. In psychology, there is a concept called being in flow. You know, being in flow means being very happy and excited to the extent that you forget time. You don't focus on time. So this is one of the highest experiences in our lives. And you know what? When you are in flow, you don't think about yourself. When you are in flow, you are fully absorbed in either what you do, or the conversation you are having, or the person you are with. This says we are mostly fulfilled when we are not self-centered. This is why Jesus said, if you try to save yourself, you will lose it. Because when you try, you save yourself, you are focused on yourself. And this is not how the self works. Because the self is made in the image of God, and God himself goes out of himself. So in order to be fulfilled and fully yourself, you need to go out of yourself. But what does the story of the fallen world says? It says, be the center and make your experiences and feelings primary. In taking the fruit, humanity said, we will be like God without him. And Eve initially focused on experience. The Bible says she saw that the fruit was desirable. So she focused on the experience that will make her focus on herself. And out of that came the self-centeredness that we kept seeing. Cain killed Abel. Why? Because he gave him bad feelings about himself. When he saw that the sacrifice of Abel was accepted and his was not, he thought he was inferior. And this made him feel bad. A feeling, an experience. What is the solution? I will kill him to have a different feeling. Sexual harassment is based on the same idea. I will have a feeling that I am cool or strong, and I don't care what's the effect on the other person. The important thing is I get a feeling. And it might be also true in romantic love. The feeling is the center. What I feel when I am in love, feeling becomes the goal and the criterion. And let me tell you a couple of quick things about this. I told you about oxytocin, right? Oxytocin is the binding hormone. There is another hormone called dopamine. And it is sometimes named the reward hormone. And recently I learned that maybe this name is not very accurate. Dopamine might not be the reward hormone, but the promise of the reward. Dopamine tells you, you enjoyed this before. If you do it again, it's good for you. And sometimes we are hooked on the excitement of having more of what I enjoyed. Father Seraphim, he's an Egyptian monk, and he has a book which is in Arabic. So if you read Arabic, it's called Prayer in a Consumeristic World. And he says this: when we get the things that we desired, we are not as happy as we thought. Because the excitement of the happiness of expectation, remember the promise of reward. So the excitement of the happiness of expectation does not persist, because what we expected came and turned out not to be as we expected. And after a while, we get used to it. Either you despair or keep searching for this feeling, which is based on the expectation that you will find something better. See the idea? I'm hungry. I want something. Maybe if I did this, and I was very excited, but then it turns out not so great. My mind says what? Maybe if I got more. Or maybe if I tried differently. Maybe I got used to this kind of porn. Maybe if I watch something more extreme or different, then I will become excited. And you become excited because it's a new promise. But does it deliver? This is another question. Do you feel fulfilled? You got excited. And you were happy in this excitement. But were you fulfilled? Was the promise realized? So is love a feeling? Is love a feeling? And if we said yes, love is a feeling, then there is not much difference between these three things. This is my wife, Lydia. If love is a feeling, then it's very strange that I love Lydia like I love Barcelona, like I love a chocolate cake. Actually, I don't care about the benefit or the goodness of the chocolate cake. I want to eat the chocolate cake. Me loving the chocolate cake means it gives me good feelings. My love for Barcelona has a higher commitment, okay? I dedicate some time. I watch sports. If there are Real Madrid fans, I'm sorry to you. So it has a higher commitment, but I don't contribute much to the wellness of this club. So I have a friend of mine who would say, he's a Madridista, okay? So he would say, we bought this player. And I answer, and how much did you pay in this? We bought, we won, did you play with them? So also love Barcelona because the good feelings they give you when they win, but you don't contribute much. You have a higher dedication when you watch them, but you don't contribute much. But the problem is sometimes we love human beings as we love clubs or chocolate cake. I love the feeling I get when I'm with you. And if you stop having the feeling, I won't want to be with you. I will search for a new promise, a new excitement that will give me good feelings. And when this ends, I will say that the problem was in the person, and I should seek a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and so on. Because we thought love is a feeling, and feeling is the goal. But I suggest to you that feelings are not the goal. But feeling is a way to react to reality in a personal way. Feeling is a way to react to reality in a personal way. What do I mean? I think having feelings is one thing that differentiates us from AI. AI can analyze data, and he can say, this is Andrew, he looks like that, he's, I don't know how tall, how fat he is, his sermon was that long, okay? But it's not personal. He would not say, I benefited from Andrew. I connected with him. Feelings makes things personal. Feelings say, what does this mean to me? How do I react to that? But the problem is, instead of me making feelings a way to react to reality, we made feelings the ultimate reality. And I think Wasim talked to you about that, right? That the modern man made feelings the ultimate thing. And I want to read with you a quote that might be surprising for some of you from Eric Fromm. Eric Fromm has a book called The Art of Loving, which I recommend. He's not a Christian, but he's a brilliant thinker. He says this: when two people who have been strangers, as all of us are, suddenly let the wall between them break down and feel close, feel one, again, unity, do you see? This moment of oneness is one of the most exhilarating, most exciting experiences in life. It is all the more wonderful and miraculous for persons who have been shut off, isolated, without love. This miracle of sudden intimacy is often facilitated if it is combined with or initiated by sexual attraction and consummation. However, this type of love is by its very nature not lasting. It's based on feeling. The two persons become well acquainted. Their intimacy loses more and more its miraculous character until their antagonism, their disappointments, their mutual boredom kills whatever is left of the initial excitement. Yet in the beginning, they do not know all this. In fact, they take the intensity of the infatuation, this being crazy about each other, for proof that the intensity of their love, while it may only prove the degree of their preceding loneliness. Notice the surprise. The height of feeling might not be an indicator to the degree of love, but the degree of the previous loneliness. It's like I said, finally, I am out of my loneliness. And because you experienced this miraculous feeling, you thought, I'm out of my loneliness, this person is great, we'll be happy together forever. But you only had the feeling because you experienced something different, but you did not build this intimacy. It's based on novelty and on how sex makes us feel intimate in one area that we then generalize over other areas. And I tell you what, maybe the intensity of feelings are also an indicator of the shame you have been in, not only the loneliness. If you thought that you're not good enough, that you are not desirable, and then someone from the other sex who is good looking finally noticed you, the emotions are high because finally I'm recognized. Finally, someone accepted me. So again, it might not be an indicator of how much we love each other, but how lonely or how shameful we were before meeting each other. So the intimacy needs to be built with time and effort. C.S. Lewis says this: who could bear to live that excitement even 5 years? The excitement of falling in love, being crazy about each other. Who can bear it, to live in it for 5 years? What would become of your work, your appetite, your sleep, your friendships? Love is not merely a feeling. It is a deep unity, maintained by the will and deliberately strengthened by habit. It's not just a feeling. It might be initiated by a feeling. He says this is like the initial explosion. It's like the turning on the car. But then you need fuel to keep the car going. So maybe falling in love made me interested in that person, made me notice that person. But to continue in love, we need other things. We need will, we need habit, we need the grace which we ask from God and receive from Him. Then this love can persist. It's a quieter love, but it persists more. And based on what I have been saying, if love is not a feeling, then it's not the most important thing to make the beloved happy and do what they want. But the most important thing is to seek deep communion and the good of the other. And you know, from your experience as children, if your parents are not maniacs, they desire your good sometimes by doing things that might hurt you, right? So if you are ill and then you need an operation, your body will be damaged in the operation. And you will not be happy by taking pills and so on. But here they decide not to look for your immediate happiness, but to look for your good in doing the operation. Same is true when father and mother prevent their child from having candies and sweets all the time, right? If the main thing is to make them happy, let them have candies all the time. But is it good for them? Will it make them grow or make their health well? No. So love actually is about the good of the other and union, as we spoke. It's not about feelings. Feelings are our way to react to this reality. That we are in union, that we are getting to know each other better. And you know what? In this framework, conflicts might help. Because if we do not resolve conflicts on a shallow level, we can understand each other better. How did you receive this? What did you understand from that? This might be the question. And when we explain and put effort, then I'm taking the other a step more inside me to understand how I function and how I think. And then this might lead to deep union. Where do commandments fit in that story? Let me read with you John 15 and then tell you what I think. Jesus said, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you." So again, the context is what? Love. Not reward, not punishment, love. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love. And these things I have spoken to you, that your joy that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. So God gave us commandments not for the sake of commandments, but to help us abide in Him. Remember what C.S. Lewis said about the deeper love, that it is initiated by feelings, but it is maintained by will and habit. So when Jesus says, keep my commandments, He says, build the habits that will help you abide in me, and this will result in what? Joy. So love, union, and joy are the goal, not the mere commandments. Let me explain this by an illustration. It's okay. Let's imagine that there is a small young kid and his father notices that he likes music. He sings and he seems to have an attuned ear. So it's not a crazy father that says you have to learn music. No, he noticed that this child is musical and that he has potential. So he brought him a teacher, and the teacher is teaching him piano. But all the other kids are playing outside. And as a child, he is tempted to leave the piano and go play outside. And the father tells him, I know you want to play outside, but believe me, this will be in your good. Is he enjoying playing piano now? He is still learning. He's not playing the chords well. He's making this chord. It's not enjoyable yet. But the father encouraged him to persist. And he keeps at it, although he cries sometimes and wants to play outside. He becomes a young man and begins to play better. So he enjoys it a bit, but not much yet. And he is still tempted to go play outside. But he persists, and the father encourages him. Then he reaches a state when he kept the commandments enough and abided in playing the piano and was enforced in the habit that they I'm sorry. In order to zone out, in order to be in flow, in order to achieve full joy, we will need a lot of discipline, a lot of enforcing habits, a lot of struggle in an opposing world that has different values. But if through that we abide in Jesus' love and commandments, we will then experience deep union, deep joy, deep fulfillment, deep glory that would justify all the life and the struggle and the effort we put in. Amen? Do you have questions?
Let's say somebody or an individual has fallen off and deviated from God's original design in this area. Is it too late for them? Can they turn around, or are they missing out on God's original design for this?
Thank you. There are two stories in which someone fell from the original design. Okay, we have the Samaritan woman. She tried marriage 5 times. It did not work out. And now she is cohabiting with a man who is not her husband. And Jesus says, I see beneath that a deep desire for union and a deep desire for fulfillment. You are thirsty, and I give the living water. Actually, I think there is an author called Bruce Marshall, and in one of his novels, a character says this: I still prefer to believe that sex is a substitute for religion, and that the young man who rings the bell at the brothel is unconsciously looking for God. So God is the best one who sees beyond messing up and breaking the commandments. As I've been explaining, He knows that we yearn for connection, union, and joy. And if someone messes up, Jesus says, I still can come to you and give you the living water. This might entail a long way of recovering from the effects of what happened. But the destiny is the deep water that turns into a great river that gives eternal life. The second story I want to comment in is the so-called sinful woman in Luke 7. Sinful probably means that she was a prostitute. And in this story, we have a religious man, a Pharisee, who is well off. He has enough money to make a good dinner, a banquet for Jesus and others. And he thinks, I'm so much better than this woman. I did not mess up sexually as she did. Well, this woman, she didn't stop crying from the time that Jesus arrived. But Jesus says what? Jesus says, she recognized who I am. You didn't. You didn't deal with me as a guest of honor, washing my feet, anointing my head, and kissing me. Well, she did all of that. So actually, I can use the past that is not great, that is costly, that still hurted her. But I can use that to open her eyes to who I am. And in recognizing me and recognizing my forgiveness for all what she did, she loved me greatly. So this is not an invitation to do whatever and Jesus will accept you, because there will be consequences. Yes, he will accept you, but there are consequences in how you shape yourself. But if you already did that, and if there are voices inside of you that are saying, I messed up, I have no place. Jesus is not only the friend of people who messed up. Jesus showed us that those people, when they meet him, they might actually have a greater opportunity to go deeper with Jesus than the people who think they did not mess up in the same manner. Thank you, a great question, and thank you that you gave me the opportunity to comment on that. Thank you. We have one here and one there at Brad.
It's not a question, it's just a comment, just to go
Sure.
based off that.
Sure.
So for people that have been in that similar situation that he just brought up, you're allowed to feel guilt because guilt creates change in your life eventually. But for you to feel shame is a tactic that Satan kind of uses to keep you in the exact same spot because he doesn't want you to grow. And then just another comment is Luke 7, the parable of the two debtors, right? Someone whose sins are more forgiven, right? Love the Lord more. So I don't think that anyone in this room that has faced a similar situation should feel discouraged that their past defines them, because the Lord uses what you've gone through and makes it your ministry, right?
I agree, thank you. And regarding your first comment, we have a lecture tomorrow in which we will think about different kinds of shame and how they are differentiated from guilt. So we'll talk more about that. So thank you.
Andrew, thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thanks.
Such a helpful paradigm, I think, to differentiate the goal being union with God and with one another versus feelings as the ultimate goal. And let's just say, I want to put you in a situation, because I do think this is so helpful, is let's just say you're giving advice to your son or your daughter, down the road. And they want to shift their desires from being the feelings being the ultimate goal to union with God and union with one another being the ultimate goal, and maybe haven't always been perfect in that. So kind of a follow-up from Martin's question. Give us some real life coaching. How would you coach someone who's younger, say, hey, I really want to do what you're saying and grow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing I will try to do is to paint a vision. Without a vision, we don't have enough motivation to go for something. That's why I started by saying we need to present a beautiful story, not just a bunch of commandments. So I would talk with my son and daughter about how this vision is exciting and worth going through. And then I will give them some illustrations from real life, how there are things that don't feel good now that will pay off later. And I think I will give them this practical advice. Try to open your eyes and recognize the effects of the effort that you are putting to give you more motivation to do more. When you make feelings primer and you pursue sex or love, you get instant gratification. So if you're just working all the time on another paradigm and you don't see anything, it's demotivating. So I would help them see, are there any signs that this pays off? Are you becoming a more heavy person, more yourself? Do you see that you are having deeper relationships? Do you see more meaning in your life? So I would advise them to recognize that. Secondly, I would highly recommend that they will keep fellowship with other friends in which they share their struggles and their victories. Because maybe he tries to notice things in his life, but he can't. But maybe another friend who knows him well and live with him, and this happens with me all the time, can say, you seem discouraged, but I can see that you were here and now you are there. There's improvement happening in your life. Or a friend can share, I was in a way worse place than you were, and see where I am now. So we always need support and other eyes from outside, and this will be helpful. And this support will actually help us taste the union that we are working towards. And when you feel these deep connections, you will say, yes, I can see how God was right in talking about the one body. And this will encourage you not to take the fast food or the drug of casual sex, and to work towards deeper relationships on the friendship level with God, and then maybe later with the spouse. Thank you. Thank you, Brad. There's a question here.
Say like someone's fighting against like all like temptations and lust and stuff like that. Say they messed up. I just want to just like get your answer, but like say like they messed up, right? They don't have to like feel discouraged about it. They just like, I don't know how to explain it, but
I think I get you.
Yeah, you get what you kind of like, how should they respond to it?
Yes. I would say a few things, and maybe we will pick up on that tomorrow as well. I would say first, don't make the action the main goal, stopping watching porn or doing whatever, but make becoming and working on your heart and your beliefs the primary thing. And this will help you see that this is a longer battle than you thought. And that the main goal is not just to stop the action, but work on the roots from which the action stems. And actually, we have a lot of research and data that sometimes going for porn or addictions in general is a result from shame or wounds or things like that. So maybe we should work on that, not just the action. Secondly, I would suggest, and I learned that from Yusuf, he says it well, that we should not adopt an ideology of achievement, so how much I have been stopping and doing well, but a mindset of a diet, that even if I mess up, I want to minimize how much I mess up. So it's not counting how many days I've been stopping watching porn, but even if I fell, let's not watch a lot of things, or maybe just do the masturbation but not watch. So you're trying to minimize the damage, and this will help you go against the habits in your body, and in the long run be changed. So you're adopting a mindset of, we're here playing the long game and the deep game. It has been ingrained in me, so it will need much time and effort. So I'm not discouraged if I fall, it's expected. And I want also to work on the roots, not just the actions. Thank you. Very good question.
I have a question based off of like questions that have been asked me. Like, let's say there's a couple that they've been dating and they feel really strongly about each other. They love each other a lot. And naturally, because of that, they desire union with each other. But they're like in their, I don't know, maybe they're like 20 years old and their parents would kill them if they wanted to get married. And so let's say that they Like they start having sex with their boyfriend or their girlfriend, but like they're not at a stage where people say they can get married. What advice do you give to a couple like this? Because some people say they should break it off so that they stop sinning. Other people say, well, they should just tie the knot. Or is there some other counsel or advice you give to someone who is in one of those relationships where it's based off of that desire for union, it's based off of the way that God designed it, but just like culturally, socially, they're not in a place where they feel like they can get married? How do you advise couples in that situation?
You say they are in their early 20s, right?
I guess, yeah, they're probably, let's say they're 20.
Okay.
They can't drink yet.
Okay. My opinion is, it is a minority of people who start relationships early that they really find the suitable person from one side and they are ready themselves. And I know that based on that, everyone will think maybe we are the minority. But I don't think this is wise. Because if we think about it rationally, you still have university, and then there is work, and then you might change work. And talk to anybody who is older, and he will tell you how much change happened in their character and in their views, especially in this period. Like the gap between school and university is big, but the gap between university and work and years of work is massive. So odds are you will change massively along this road. So my advice is stay friends and see what goes along the years. I advise not to be too close, because this might be a source of bias. Because we are close, we would keep saying, yes, we are sure this is the right person. But be close enough to keep seeing each other, but away enough to widen your view and see, am I changing? Is she changing? Are there any other persons that seem more aligned with my vision? And then if you are right, you're losing nothing. Actually, you are building your character in a way that you will not get afterwards. Like what happens when you are single won't be reversed once you tie the knots. So this is not time lost. Hopefully you have all the years. So you can invest in this relationship and learn restraint and objectivity in that. And then after some experiences and some years, you have the test of time and change. And then you can say, well, the emotions were very high and this was a really good friend, but I changed and I realized this wasn't much. And I think if we are honest and review our crushes, we can turn and say, how on earth did I have this crush? So if this happened in junior high and in university, it's still possible in the 20s and afterwards. So I think from experience, we have enough evidence that we can change our minds.
So I kind of have a question to piggyback that. So let's say you are in, you're past university, you're in your years of career, you're a little bit older. I've just heard so many different things. Do you believe that God has one person for you in your life where because I've heard the theory that there are many people that it could, you have to put in the work and you can make it work. But it's if you are older, you have dated, you realize what you like, what you don't like, and you feel like you're holding out, no, there has to be this person. So it's what is your take on, is there really the one, especially since God knows our future and where we're headed?
Thank you. This is a difficult question. And I will tell my own opinion, which can be rejected. Really, it's a tough question. I believe that not only in marriage, but in all of our lives, God knows us intimately and knows our details, so He might have things in minute details for us. But this doesn't mean that if we miss this thing, that we are ruined. God is wise enough to know what is best for us, but powerful enough to work around things if we don't choose this best. And I think this puts us in a position to have two things in tension. To do our best role in hearing God and seeking Him and asking other and being wise what fits us best, but to also be flexible enough that even if I chose wrongly, God promised that all things will work together for my good. If you don't hold both in tension, you are subject to danger. If you don't believe the latter, you will always be fearful that I missed the best and I'm ruined. And if you don't believe that there are some details that God has for you, then you can be a bit lazy in trying to discern. So I think you need to have both together to have a better life.